Matt Esquire here with more Gibson legal news. I know it's been kind of quiet on the Gibson front, but this one's a little bit of an odd one. It's Gibson adjacent, if you will. As you know, back in 2018, 5 years ago in fact, this month, Gibson filed for bankruptcy protection, basically so it could restructure all of its debts. Now, it wasn't just Gibson filing for bankruptcy protection. It was Gibson and all of Gibson's subsidiary brands. And let me tell you, there's a ton of them. Now, one of these brands was a brand called Gibson Innovations, Netherlands BV. Now, Gibson Innovations, what they had done way back in 2013 is they had bought out Philips Audio Division, which then was flailing and failing. So they bought it for like $135 million back in 2013. This didn't work out, and what wound up happening is Gibson took a bath on that as well. In fact, actually, it looks like in the very first year that Gibson owned Philips, they lost something like $13 million. Then again, that was $13 million losses on about $500 million of gross revenue. So it's really not all that bad, although if I lost $15 million, it would be bad. Fast forward a few years, Gibson's still not doing well, and shock of shocks, they filed for bankruptcy, including Gibson Innovations Netherlands. Now, the person who was assigned to represent basically what's called the bankruptcy estate for Gibson brands was a gentleman by the name of Floris Dix. It's a crazy name. It's Dutch. I'm not going to make fun of it. Whatever. So, Floris Dix is the bankruptcy trustee who's in charge of Gibson Innovation Netherlands bankruptcy estate. He's there to look out for the interests, basically not just of the estate, but also all of the creditors. Try to make them as whole as possible. Fast forward to about 3 weeks ago, and what happens? Floris Dix sues not Gibson, because Gibson's been discharged from bankruptcy, but Henry Juszkiewicz. Henry J., as you may recall, he was the former CEO of Gibson brands. And in fact, he was the CEO of Gibson back in 2013 when Gibson purchased Philips and when they took a huge loss on that. Now, here's where it gets interesting.
Support for Blues Lawyer Confessionals brought to you by Hanto Home Pergola. Use the promo code BluesLawyer and receive a free heater with your purchase.
Floris Dix, in order to have any case whatsoever, has to show that there has been such gross malfeasance in the administration of Gibson brands and Gibson Innovations that the actual corporation, and by extension the estate, was harmed by this maladministration, by this gross deviation from ordinary business practices. Now, this sounds like, oh, any mistake is bad. But no, that's not the standard. Generally speaking, the courts say, you know what, not every business deal is going to work out. As long as ordinary business judgment was exercised, directors and officers are not liable. Did this deal work out? Absolutely not. They tried rebranding Philips as, I believe it was Wooks or something like that. Some terrible name. It just didn't pan out. There were probably shifts in the market. It just didn't work out. Now, in addition to having this enormously high bar to show a breach of good faith, that Henry J. was acting stupidly, the other problem right on its face is, like I said, this complaint was filed on June 5th, 2018. Now, as far as I can tell, and I'm not an expert in Dutch law, I know absolutely zero about Dutch law, other than the fact that every word has 3 A's and 2 E's. Their statute of limitations is 5 years. So now it looks like there's a question as to whether or not Henry J. would even be on the hook. For all I know, this could be time barred. So this is this really weird case, which frankly I don't see going anywhere. Henry J is being sued personally for 50 million euros. I do not know what the current exchange rate is. There's all sorts of problems. Number one, there's the issue about personal jurisdiction. This case is being brought in a Dutch court, and I don't think Henry J lives in the Netherlands. Also, I'm not certain whether or not Henry J was the actual CEO of Gibson Innovations. There's all sorts of structures, all sorts of things going on. It's just a crazy, crazy, crazy story here involving this disgruntled bankruptcy trustee trying to recapture some money on behalf of the estate, I think probably to try to make some of Gibson Innovations creditors whole, or at least partially whole. I don't know what the status of that portion of the bankruptcy is, whether or not that there's some lingering bankruptcy action going on in the Netherlands. But this is really silly. Where do we stand now? Well, we stand right at the very beginning of this case. Like I said, this was just filed apparently on June 5th of this year. And as of the recording date of this, June 22nd, so that's less than 3 weeks ago as of the time of recording. I've got cases that get dismissed because I go a year without successfully serving them. This is really, really kind of odd. I apologize if I get anything wrong. Keep in mind, I haven't read any of the documents here. The documents, I assume, are all in Dutch, which I don't read. Moreover, the article which I read was from a Dutch financial paper, which was written in Dutch, so all I could do was read it through Google Translate. The accuracy I'm not 100% certain of. So it's kind of a translation of a secondhand reporting of a summary. That said, it's just another fun curiosity in Gibson litigation. We'll keep you updated on all the other litigation, including those that don't involve Gibson, but they seem to be at the heart of everything. And until next time, less fiddling and more playing.